Hey all, it's me again. I'm gonna go into a little bit of a chess lesson since I haven't done one in a while because we've been doing the under 13 tournament and that's still ongoing. We'll catch up at the end. But the main purpose of this lesson is all about moving backwards. We have a tendency to forget that pieces can actually go backwards. And also, the other topic is the long game. That is how to use it to your benefit. Um, and it also coincides with moving backwards. And then we'll go ahead and get into the update for the under 13 tournament. So, how many of you have ever heard of the saying, one step back, two steps forward? Well, sometimes you have to go back in order to move forwards. And chess is no exception. So, what I mean is, here's a basic example of one game. So, my next move was here, and black goes here. Now, it is very easy to say, oh, my knight's been attacked. I should do something about that. Um, and then say, oh, fuck, where do I go? I'm out of spaces. Uh, Knight here, knight here, knight here. No, they can all get taken. Do I want to go back, waste a move? No, that's not a good idea. Oh, it could go there, but it's still going to get taken by the bishop, even though the knight's pinned. Oh, look, I can move my knight here, back. You can order to progress. You can actually go ahead and actually progress forward. And again, immediately, this happens quite often for people. When you go ahead and pin the knight against the queen or king, your opponent would often go ahead and challenge that piece and push this pawn up, which is, I mean, when I was 13, 15, I was taught if you can live with the pin, just go ahead and live with it. The whole entire point of castling, either queen side or long castle on the queen side, is to keep your king safe. And your king is never going to be as safe as when you have three pawns and a rook in front of you and a rook next to you. Soon as you start moving the pawn, you weaken the defense. You create a hole for the opponent to attack. And this is even weaker here because the f7 pawn is already gone. So you've created a hole here. This square can no longer be protected. And you got a hole here. You know, if I had a bishop to get down that long aisle, it would be disastrous. So if I go ahead and get my knight here, I can go ahead and attack the rook. It's just bad. So so and so when your opponent does go ahead and do this, some people go ahead and just take the knight and they exchange the pieces. But the main reason why your opponent has done this is because they're feeling the pressure of the pin. They don't know what to do. They feel uncomfortable with the knight being moved, and they're constantly having to remember that the knight is being pinned. So you can't actually. Oh, we got a new comment. We'll get to that in a minute. So they can't. They don't like it, and they'll do whatever it takes to get rid of that knight and get rid of the pin. So just move backwards. Instead of moving the knight away, I mean the bishop away, or taking the piece. Keep the pin. Move the knight bishop back, and the pin is still there. If they go ahead and push this second pawn up, then that is extremely bad because you have created so much air around your king. It completely negates the point of castling in the first place. You might as well have just kept your king in the center of the board because you've undone completely everything. The whole entire point of castling is to keep your king safe. And in exposing your king to so much air, you completely undermine the point of castling, which is what he did. And that tells me he can't stand or handle the pressure of the pin. So, of course, that tells me information on how to beat my opponent. Pins, he can't handle them. And you take advantage of what the person has left behind. And then that allows me back in to... He is in serious trouble now, and he doesn't realize it. He goes ahead and takes the bishop. Queen check. And then now he's going, oh shit. Yeah, oh shit. If I wanted to, I could have put my knight here and win the rook, because he's going to have to go king h8. If knight goes to f7, it would fork the king and queen. Rook takes knight, queen takes rook. But, oh no, I'm not letting him off that easy. In comes the second knight. Knights in the center are deadly. Knights on the rim are dim. He has no idea how much trouble he is in. And look at this. He's 3 points up. I gave a piece. And it was all from going backwards. And this second knight came from going backwards. So don't forget that pieces can actually go backwards. It's just the pawns that can't go back. Knight takes. And I'm sure I kind of messed up here a little, because I have a very strong feeling that I could have checkmated it and forced him. I just never went into the full analysis of it. And I believe the way that I did go about it, I went the one way. I moved the one knight to this. Both of my knights can get to that square. And there is a threat of checkmate right here. This knight is keeping the king from getting out. He's penned in by his own pieces. So I went in with this knight looking for the checkmate. Now, I have a feeling that I should have gone the other way. So when he... But then I was worried about the queen. But you'll see. So he went that way. And that stops the checkmate right there. Queen comes back. He goes out there to attack. I take the pawn. He comes out and takes... attacks my queen. I could have just exchanged here, but nope. And take the pawn. I'm just taking advantage of everything that he leaves behind. Now I take the rook. I still feel that I let him off somehow. That I could have and should have run. Like, it should have been a forced mate. But in the end, it was just like, his pieces are going one by one. Now I'm 2 pawns up. There goes his bishop. I take the... I take that knight. It's like, oh dear. It's raining pieces now. The knight's been there the entire time. I could have taken it. And then, boom. Like, it's steadily getting worse and worse. And now there is nothing... I kind of laughed about this. There is absolutely nothing stopping this pawn, the A pawn, going all the way up. If he takes it, the rook takes that piece. It'll take a rook, or it'll take the queen. So queen here, up it goes. If he wants to exchange his last rook or his queen for a rook, by all means. And that was just dumb. I think he just didn't care at this point. And then, boom. And that's where he resigned. He's 13 points behind. And thankfully, chess.com sort the pieces around. So you don't capture your own pieces. So they've swapped the colors around. So, yeah. So that was a pretty much one game. This is for the under 1400 tournament. But don't forget that the main point is I got the advantage by moving backwards, not moving forwards. Uh, if you go ahead and do the pin, I mean, to be honest, doing the pinning of the knight is not the most. I'm not sure how to say it properly, but most professional players don't tend to do that because there's better games around. The pinning of the knights are done by intermediate and beginner players, but if you go ahead and do it, the entire point is the pin. So if you get your bishop attacked, don't go ahead and take the piece because you let the whatever you do, you're letting the pressure off of them. The potential is more dangerous than the actual threat itself. Once you take the knight, the threat of the pin is gone. So either way, you let them off. And they can breathe a sigh of relief because they don't have to worry about it. People make more mistakes when you give them more things to think about. So if you overcomplicate the position and have them think about more stuff, it's more easy to make them make a mistake. It's all mental with chess, and that's what it is. Oh, looks like it's one of my moves. So this is another one. This is to do with a long game. Oh, they moved finally. Good. And that's this game that we're about to do. So oh no, this is separate. So the long game is. You all know my opening. And again, here it is, the threat of checkmate right there. He spots it. And there we go again. He attacks my piece, but there's no pin. But he doesn't like my knight being there. He can't castle. His kingside is destroyed. And that was a bad move because the knight's now pinned. King goes right back to where it was. Game over. I win at this point. He's not going to win. I could have taken the pawn and done the exact same thing. Threatened the queen and the c7 pawn. But the threat here is f2. And then he would take the rook, give him checkmate. So I had to take the knight to protect that square. So don't think I didn't notice that he had a threat of checkmate the entire time. But he lost. Like I said, soon as he did that move, it was game over. In fact, I had conditional moves set up for the mate. So rook takes pawn, check. King goes in the middle. Queen there, check. Bishop in front. And bishop there to protect that square, stop the mate. Queen takes the pawn, which is pointless. Although it does protect the b7 pawn. That was bad. The queen there actually stops me taking that pawn. But he had to go there. He had to do something because there's a threat of checkmate right there. So perhaps instead of go in there, queen here, force the exchange. Not necessarily force, but yeah, I would have had to do something. But he had just lost, and that's where he resigned. I had the conditional moves set up. Either he loses the queen, or I checkmate him. Um, he could have done this perhaps, but then you're just giving up an entire piece. So, because if he does, say he did that, queen takes rook, and that's checkmate. So that was the actual threat. But rook goes here. So rook goes here, and then rook sacrifice takes the bishop. Check. If king takes back, queen there is checkmate. If if he decided to take the queen, take with the queen, it's game over. I win the queen. Although technically, I mean, it's a king and two rooks versus a queen and a bishop. Technically, he's winning on points. Um, I mean, rooks are worth 5 each. Queens are only worth 9. So queen takes rook, bishop takes, and now he has a free move. So we got 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We got 9, 12, 13, 14, 15. So black's winning on points. I mean, there's no reason why black couldn't put up a good fight, but it's a lot harder. So let's go ahead, and this one is the long game. Going back about how to move faster. Uh, don't when you put the bishop out here to do the Royal Lopez or whatever opening, don't be afraid to move backwards. And you can leave that bishop there for the entire game. It's a nice diagonal to be on because it's the same diagonal as the king when it castles. And now, most of the time, people are going to forget all about it. So, and that's exactly what happens. The only two pieces that are in the way of that pawn is the bishop and the d5 pawn. So my knight comes out here. He doesn't see this as a threat because it's not like a normal typical threat, but it is. Now he already moved one piece out of the way for me, which he thought, oh, it's going to exchange the rooks. Oh no, I'm not. Bishop comes out, and ta-da! Thankfully he moved the pawn out the way, and oh look, bang, check, long diagonal. Moving backwards can allow you to have a bigger attack. Taking the rook. I'm now 3 pawns up. I move the bishop to attack that. Queen d7. And this is where it's my move now. So, bishop takes bishop. And if he takes that bishop back, knight f7 check, winning the queen. It looks like he didn't see my trap, because otherwise he wouldn't have moved the queen there. I get a whole free piece. And oh look, the knight. It can go all the way. So don't be afraid of going backwards with your pieces because it allows you more opportunities and to keep the potential threat and attack, and it allows you to play the long game. No, that's a bad idea. Uh, so that's going to be the end of the lesson for that one. Now let's go ahead and catch up on the tournament. So we got 13% played of the under 1300. We're speeding up a little bit. He's got 9. I would have been on top, but as soon as that game, the Lands Out game is over, I'll be 9.5 and I'll be on top. Because he's got 3 draws, I've got a better average. Because even though he has draws, they half count as wins, but they also half count as losses too. So we're still in round 1. 2069 games are still going on right now for the current round. 439 games completed. So let's go ahead and check on Verdict. I don't think there's any change with him. He's still got a couple of games where he could win. There he is. He's got one more additional loss, unfortunately, but he's still at 1 victory still. So, we'll keep an eye on Verdict. Hopefully, he gets sent 2 instead of a 1. Let's check the under 1400s because I got 2 points on that. Yeah. And I'm about to win that one too. This game isn't over yet, but it basically is. And I hate to say it, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. Don't do the V and Shadow anymore. And this is why. Because I know how to crush you. Well, first of all, he made the mistake of not castling. If you're going to do the V and Shadow, castle. As soon as you move your bishop away, like... And this also goes back to my... This also helps to prove my point. If someone goes ahead and does the pin, learn to play with the pin on. In other words, give no fucks. Don't give a fuck. You pin my knight, so what? I can play without it. Because if you move the pawn up, you weaken your king side. My king is a hell of a lot stronger with 3 pawns in front of it and the rook next to it. His king is stuck in the middle. He goes ahead and takes the pawn, which is pointless. Queen comes forward, which I have no god knows why. And bang. Now his king is stuck in the middle because he tried to move the queen out the way so it can castle queenside. Thinking, oh, if I move the bishop out the way, he's going to castle queenside and have a rook behind the queen. But hello, queen attack. Now the king is stuck in the middle. He has to move the queen or put the knight in the center or the bishop back. Bishop takes bishop, and that's the end of the pin. And this is also why you don't do the V and Shadow. Because an experienced player will know how to destroy you. There is, use whatever analogy, whatever terminology you want. V and Shadow has been done so much that everyone has been trained up on it and knows how to destroy you. You can do the V and Shadow in combination of other openings, like you can do the Sicilian, then do a V and Shadow bishop and stuff like that. using the fianchetto as your main opening, you gotta know how to play it perfectly. But if you make one slight mistake, you will get pulverized. Like there's no other way. Just imagine an egg in your hand and close your hand into a fist. That's what it is like. So it's not over yet, but the game's over. It's not physically over, but it's over. He's now gonna go one pawn down. The knight or bishop's going to be pinned against his own queen. The king's stuck in the middle. So it's just bad no matter how you look at it. So, okay, I've got to get this uploaded to the chess channel and have fun.